Alright, in this tutorial we'll be making a kind of a point-click adventure menu system. So if you ever played point-click adventures, you move your mouse cursor around, hover over an object, and it gives you the kind of commands that that object can be used with. So let me just go ahead and show you what we'll be creating. We have a nice target area when I move my cursor around, which is the right control stick in this one. And when I'm over or near an object, on my camera really big there, you'll notice on that object it gave me the command take. So if I hit triangle there, I've taken that object, for example. The other thing we'll be discussing is when you change zones in your objects in a different area, you can actually move the target to that area. Now notice this one doesn't have the take triangle, it has the circle use instead. You can actually, we'll show you how to do multiple, like you can say take, use, talk, a lot of those other things. Let's just go ahead and get right to it. Alright, let's go ahead and start by creating our target area. This will be the cursor that the player moves around. We're going to go ahead and use the sticker panel for this. That way we can easily color code it. Go ahead and choose a circle. And let's make it a thin layer circle. And you can make it any size you want right now. Here in just a second we're going to resize it, but we'll go ahead and start with something pretty large. Next we will copy that circle and shrink it down a little bit, try to make an outline, and then use your triangle to delete in between. Then we'll shrink even more and kind of make a center target area. This is our cursor. Now you can design any cursor you want. Doesn't have to be this. This is what I'm choosing right now. Next we're going to go ahead and glue those pieces together. Now because they're not touching, we can't really glue them that easily. So I'm going to use some holographic material. I'll go ahead and just make a layer that connects them to the two pieces. And then we can go ahead and glue. Alright, now all three pieces are glued together. Let's go ahead and make our holographic material not seen by adjusting the brightness down to 0. Then we will color code our sticker material. Just properties of that. Choose whatever color you like. I'm going to go ahead and choose red here. Green makes a really good target too. And voila. Go to preview mode and you notice we do not see our holographic material. I'm going to go ahead and resize this down to something a little smaller to work with. Kind of think of how big your sack boy is going to be and how big you want your target area. That still might be a little too big. That's something good. It also depends on your camera range too. If you have a camera really far out, you probably want to make the target a little bigger, and if you have a camera really close in, you want to make it smaller. Alright, next we're going to be able to move this target, and we'll just use a simple controlinator for that. One thing I did notice, the smaller you get, the more edges you see. That center circle, you notice when it gets smaller, it gets square. Kind of find that sweet spot maybe like right there. It's not as blocky. Alright, let's go ahead and lay down a chip in the center of our target. And you want to be as centered as possible because later on we're going to be playing with a radius. Another reason I made this a circle is so I can actually make this a detectable range. In a complete circle, that's what the tool does. So unfortunately the targets don't really like rectangles yet in Little Big Planet, so hopefully I'll add that soon. Alright, let's do our controlinator onto that chip. And a simple advanced mover. I guess that's an oxymoron then, or advanced simple. We'll plug in our left right to our left right, and our up down into our up down. Let's go ahead and adjust the speed a little bit. Let's make it 10 a little bit faster, and everything else will do the same. Now who controls the controlinator? Whoever is closest to the target area. So we're going to change this remote control to receiver, and we'll select the little sack person there, controlled by nearest player. Let me go ahead and just give this a test real quick. There we go. Now when I let go of the cursor, this thing just floats big time. So we do need to add a gravity tweaker to this. So let's go ahead and grab our anti-gravity tweaker. And let's adjust the dampening. Let's say 50%. That's going to stop it from going everywhere. Let's try this again. Move. And you can see it floats just a little tiny bit as I let go, but not much at all. This is what a cursor should look like. Go preview mode. There we go. We have a cursor that moves. Now here's the problem though. I go way over here. I've got to hit right a lot in order for it to catch back up. There again, it could be way up here and I'll never see it again. So we need to make sure this cursor stays really close to the sack person at all times. So let's go ahead and take it off of preview mode. And how we're going to do that is using a follower. Now, who to follow? This is where an advanced broadcaster comes in. I can actually assign a chip to a character. Now, typically you can only put a tag on a sack bot, but with the new broadcast microchip, which we'll choose now, let's just go ahead and put it right on our entrance here. You'll notice I have a circuit board right above the sack person's head. Now, if we go out of range of that chip, the microchip goes away. So let's go ahead and adjust that microchip, and we're going to go ahead and say closest in range is fine. Maximum detection range, we're going to go to the left and choose infinity, and then layer range 16, so I can be anywhere in this map, and this will be broadcast. You notice now I walk away, still in range of the broadcast chip, so we still have that circuitry. I'm going to go ahead and create a tag on this circuitry. You can't put it on the one you're... you can, but it's not really doing a thing. When I come back down, you notice it disappeared because I never apply the logic to the real circuit board. So watch out for that. You have to put it on the real circuit board for it to appear on your character permanently. So if I jump up and down, or it stays put. So that's a big gotcha. You don't want to do an hour's worth of work on this one and then fly away and it all disappears. So make sure you're working on the real circuit board. Let's go ahead and give that a label. I'm going to go ahead and call this something, let's say target snap. Basically meaning we want the target to snap to this tag. Now you also notice this is off over here on the main one, but it's live on my broadcast chip. This is what we want. We don't want this thing live both places. This thing doesn't know which one to go with. So, all right. Go ahead and close that down. Now, one other thing I will say is a gotcha. If I fly up and fly back down, it reopens every single time. If you don't want it to do that, just close the real one, and it won't do that ever again. Alright, so let's go ahead and create another microchip. I like to keep all my logic organized. This microchip represents the follower. So we will start by using a tag sensor. I'll look up, chose the wrong thing. Tag sensor. Let's go ahead and adjust some properties of this. We'll go ahead and make the maximum detection range. Let's go ahead and do it like 75. This again depends on your camera. If your camera is far out or close in, you might want to adjust this to try and hit just the kind of outer boundaries a little bit of your sack person's view. Let's go ahead and do the layer range all the way to 16. And we're also going to do the trigger angle radius only to 180 degrees. What I'm trying to do here in a minute is prevent the target from going below where the sack person is standing, so you don't lose the target underneath something like that. Alright, let's go make sure there's no other properties we got to adjust. We do have to adjust the label that we're looking for. We're going to be looking for target snap. Alright, next we're going to do a follower. maximum speed. Let's go ahead and bump that up to 50, make it fairly quick. We're not going to do in and out speed because I don't want this thing going in and out. Here in a minute we're going to do some logic that allows your target to go in and out if you need it on different layers, but as far as the follower goes, we're not going to do that. Maximum detection range, let's go ahead and bump that to infinity. Trigger angle, that's fine. Layer detection range, let's go all 16 again. So there again, this can find us on the entire map. Alright. Now I don't want this thing following me at all times. Let me go ahead and show you what's going to happen. You notice it just sticks with me at all times. It's annoying to have your target right on the sack person at all times. So that's why we're going to use this target here. We have a little sensor on our sack person. Remember that broadcast thing? What we can do is, if this tag is not detected anywhere, this target is not in range of that tag, then we can choose follow. If it's in range, we don't want to follow. So all we have to do is include a not tag, or not logic. So when we are not in range of that tag, then we will follow. Let's go ahead and try this out. You can see it's following me right there on the edge. Go this way, it's following right there on the edge. Now, I can't move the target above my head using that right cursor. What's going on here is this tag sensor is actually upside down. You'll notice we have here, because we're doing a knot, we need to flip this around. So it actually looks like this. Make it a little more even here. There we go. Gone the other way now. Alright, that should be good. So let's try this out again. I accidentally disconnected my knot. Don't do that. Not do that. Okay, now I can move my cursor. And you notice I can't really get to the edges, which is good because you don't want your cursor going all the way off the screen. But I can't move it down at all. Every time I try to hit it down, it snaps to the sack person. So this is pretty good. You've created basically a limited range of where that target area can go. Now it's kind of annoying though seeing my target as I'm running here. That's just sloppy work. So we're actually going to be hiding the target when we're moving around. So let's go ahead and go back to our circuit board over here, our broadcast chip. And let me first show you a bug in Little Big Planet which I cannot stand. I'm going to do it in this controlinator right here. So typically you want to see when the sack person is moving, and I can typically do it by detecting this control here if I put a controlinator on this broadcast chip. And I can put a tag saying, okay, when this tag is active, I know he's moving. Or when either one of these is active, I know he's moving. But here is the bug. So I'm going to put down a simple tag. And I'm going to go ahead and put it to this left-right. Move it down here so you can see it. Now I'm going to move left to right, and you can see the tag is working just fine. But here is the bug. If you barely move left or right, you notice the tag is not active at all. This is the problem. You can't really tell your user, hey, in order to use my logic, make sure you do really big movements, because if you don't, then you're going to break my level. That's not good leveling. So the same thing happens at Little Big Planet 2, Little Big Planet 1. It's not a Little Big Planet 3 problem. I've already put this in the forums many times. So I found another way around this. So let's go to our broadcast circuit chip. And we're actually going to use the speed sensor to detect when our SAC person is moving. And if you set this all the way to 0, even the slightest movement whatsoever will set this sensor off. Go ahead and create another chip. And let's go ahead and make this a red chip. And we'll give it a label of, let's do target hide. So whenever the SAC person is moving any way at all, I want to enable this chip. So we can go ahead and test it out. So I'm not moving at all, the chip's off. I'm barely moving, chip's on, fully moving. You can see it's working just fine. There is no bug on that speed sensor that we were dealing with on the controlinator. One of my biggest pet peeves, finally I found a way to kind of around it. It only works with moving objects though, but it does work. Alright, so let's go ahead and shrink that back down. Go back to our logic here. Alright, let's go ahead and create another chip. And just to let you know, if you're really OCD about this, you can rename your microchips. That way when you mouse over them, it'll tell you what that chip is. So if you have a lot of chips in one area, it probably is a better idea to do that. Alright. So on this chip, when I detect, I'm going to use a remote tag sensor. A really cool thing about remote tag sensors, you're not dealing with any radiuses here. You're not dealing with any layer inputs. If you're looking for a chip anywhere inside the level, this is what you want to use. Earlier when we used this one here, we were dealing with radiuses and degrees and stuff, so we could not use a remote tag sensor. But in this situation, we're trying to determine if that tag can be seen at all. The tag we're looking for is red, and it's the target hide. Now, I want to do the opposite of this. Whenever I can't see that chip, I want the target to show. There again, I could use the invert output, but I want to be able to see my logic when I open up the chip, so I'm going to use the not instead. And we'll just program this not to the material. Make sure you choose the right one. Go ahead and do the outside. Let's go ahead and, sometimes you have to move your chip around to get to it. Just get rid of that wire. Kind of annoying sometimes when you're dealing with small things on top of small things. So there you go, material and material. We can try this out. So I'm not moving and I can see the thing just fine. As soon as I move, it goes black. Moving the cursor, moving my character, it goes black. Now the reason it goes black is we forgot to set one material thing. So we'll go down here, and when the material is off, we want opacity to be 0. Same thing with this little center area, 0. Let's go ahead and move our chip back to the center because the radius will matter to us. So let's turn this in preview mode now. Move my cursor around. As soon as I start moving, cursor goes away. And you notice it's going to be bouncing, trying to catch up to us. See, it's right here. We haven't really left us. Go all the way back. There it is. Turn it back in preview mode. You can see what it's doing. It's keeping up with us. Always keeping up with us until we start moving it again, and we're good to go. Alright, so that concludes this section of how to design it. We'll be adding some more things to it later on this video. For example, we'll even put little stickers on here telling, okay, the user can press circle here, or they can hit L1 over here when over that object. So you may have an object where they could look at it, they can use it, they could pick it up. A lot of different things you can actually do with this target area. We'll get to that here. Alright, in this section we're going to talk about layer movement of our target area. One big problem we have with the target area is it's only in one layer currently. So for example, let's say you have an item over here in part of your level, but later on in another zone of your level you have another item over there. So right now I put my target over this item, I can get near it, I can tell I'm actually targeting the box. But later on, my target is so far away from my object, if I had 2 or 3 boxes I wanted to target, it would be really kind of hard to tell, depending on which angle I'm at, if I'm actually targeting the right object. So we want the target to be closer to your objects that you care about in the level. So let's go ahead and try to code that up. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create some holographic material here. I'll make it all 16 layers. It really depends on your level design, but I want to make sure I get this right. So I'm going to go ahead and draw a big sheet like this. Let's go ahead and change the brightness down to 0. And I'm going to put a chip somewhere on it. Even if I only have one tag I'm going to put on something, I usually do a chip because later on I end up adding 2 or 3 more tags I didn't think I was going to, so it's better to go ahead and start with a chip anyway. On this chip we're going to put an impact sensor. Let's go ahead and modify the impact sensor. And what we want to do is include touching. So basically whenever the sack person, which we'll go ahead and put all players here, touches that, we will activate this chip. You don't want to touch it on, let's say, shooting things and objects that accidentally trigger this. Only when the sack person enters that zone do we want to do this. Alright. And all we're going to do is quickly flip this tag. Now this tag is only going to activate as long as they touch the material. You really only need about a millisecond for this tag to activate for this technique to work. So we'll go ahead and program that up to the tag. Let's go ahead and color code our tag. Let's make all these blue, and let's give it a label of target layer and for this one let's go ahead and choose something like 8. You might make as many chips as layer designs as you want here. We're only going to make a couple for this tutorial. So whenever the sack person enters this hologram, this tag is going to be turned on for just probably a brief second, not even a second. So you can actually see it right here. Move this down. There we go. Alright, on our target, let's go ahead and create a new microchip. And we're going to use a remote tag sensor. That way we don't have to set the layer, we don't have to set the radius or anything like that. The only thing we have to set is the tag we're looking for, which is blue and target layer 8. Alright, next I want to use an in-out mover. Let's go ahead and adjust maximum speed all the way as high as we can go. We want this thing to pretty much instantly go there. Allow pushing, no. We don't want this thing to push anything. It's a sticker anyway. It probably couldn't push anything because it has a weight of 0, but we don't want it to. Now in action move in once, we don't want that. We want to actually choose what layer we're going to go to. And since we call this tag layer 8, might as well go ahead and make it set to layer 8 so it makes sense. Let's go ahead and program that or wire that up to the chip. And let's give this thing a test. So right now, I think it's already switched layers on me, so let's go ahead and do a couple more so we can actually see this thing change. That was layer 8, so I'm going to copy this thing a few more times. So let's say 7, 6, 5. And all we have to do is change our targets to represent all those layers. So 7, 6, 5, and then we have to adjust these to the right layer also. And we'll go ahead and copy this over, and we can change this to, let's try that 5 one. So I'll change this tag over to 5, and let's see what happens. You can see it's jumping the layers correctly now. And it should still be following us. There it is. We're on layer 5 over here. And over here, we're in layer 8. So it looks like we probably need to get back to layer 14 or so. So let's go ahead and try that out. Let's go ahead and change this up to a new tag. We'll call it layer, I think it's 14 back there. And then in our logic, we still need to create a 14. I'm not going to go all the way up to 9, 10, 11, 12. I'm just going to jump over here and code our 14 real quick. Let's give it a test. We'll enter this zone and we have a target. Looks like it should have been 13, but just for the demo purposes, I'm going to put my box back there. And this one, let's move this one back once. And voila. Let's go in preview mode. I've got a nice target. It's in front of my object. I change sections, and I have my target, and it's changed section or layers again. So there we go. That's kind of how to keep your target user-friendly per se by layering, and we already covered how to make it move and everything in the previous section. We're getting there. In the next section, we're going to talk about making different selections when you mouse over a certain object. So for example, this box here, I wanted to pick it up or delete it or something. When this cursor is over it, I can have an option to do that. Alright, we'll go ahead and perform the actions needed to make our cursor a little more selective, meaning, okay, great, we targeted something, but we can't really do anything with this. What can we do with the box? We got to have options. This is a point-click adventure cursor. So some examples would be talk, pick up, delete, use. You played many point-click adventures and you have all those different options. Here we're going to go ahead and use part of our controller as the instructions. For example, triangle, and we're going to tell it what triangle does. Unfortunately, there are some keys that you really just can't use when you're dealing with the controlinator. For example, the X button will cause Sackboy to jump. I guess you can program it to X, but you're going to have that weird little X jump thing happen whenever you hit X. The square button brings up the poppet. Only with a Sackbot have we been able to disable the poppet itself. The circle brings up your sack pocket. We can actually disable that. And if you hold down triangle, you bring up your organization-tron. We can actually disable that too. So circle, triangle are actually good buttons we can use. L1 and R1, unless you're near something grabbable, the R1 doesn't do anything, so that's a good one. The L1's a good one. The R2 and L2 controls your arms. There again, We can program those. All we get really is a twitch of the hand when we use those buttons. Not a big deal whatsoever. So we have, what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 buttons to work with. The other buttons you have to work with are your down, left, right, and up. Now, in creep mode, they rewind, fast forward, fly, and all that stuff. But in play mode, those are actually usable. The only thing I don't like about the up, down, left, right buttons, it's hard to dictate via picture what button you're talking about when you're showing it. When you're talking about up, down, left, you have to pretty much show all 4 buttons and highlight the one you're talking about to make it clear. So I really like L1, R1, L2, R2, triangle, and circle best because there are stickers available with those already. So let's go ahead and grab some sticker material, make it small or thin layer. Go to our stickers and scroll all the way down to the very bottom. They're closer to the last section here. I'm in decorations, my bad. Go to stickers, all the way to the bottom. Oh, just past them. And you can see we have the circle, triangle, R1, different colors of R1, which is really nice. Different colors of L1. I like to stick to them all the same. I don't see any colors for the X and circle and square and all that in black, so I'm going to stick with the white colors. Let's go ahead and do the ones we know we can use. Let's say, for example, triangle. Get it off preview mode real quick. Something I also like to do, I should have done it before I put that sticker down. Let me go ahead and start over real quick. Is I like to go ahead and create as many sticker panels as I'm going to use right off the bat and resize them all at once. That way you don't have to keep, adjusting one and then adjusting the next one and the next one. So let's go ahead and we're going to do, say, 4 different icons. First one will be the triangle. And you notice my sticker started out really, really big. That's another thing. Let's go ahead and start these sticker panels really, really big. Let's go ahead and lay down triangle. Let's find these L1 here. There's our circle. And the only other one we need is the R1. That's weird. I have duplicates of R1. Oh well. Alright, next we'll use our sticker cutter. That way we don't have a huge piece of sticker material. And the last thing is to actually resize them the size you want them to be. So let's go ahead and select them all. We'll fly in a little closer so you get a little more accurate. Cursor is attracted to those holographic materials. Try to select these all again. Oh, missed one. Yeah, dealing with 16 layers in Little Big Planet 3 sometimes is a challenge. You gotta get your character floating near the pieces to get accuracy. Still didn't do it right. I'm always missing one, come on. Alright, try it one more time. There, I got them all. Alright, let's go ahead and move them to the same layer as our other sticker area. Now notice the R1 is bleeding through underneath the circle. We can change that here in just a second. I'll show you how. And that actually might be on a wrong layer also. No, that's right. Alright, that size looks decent. Might go a little bit bigger. There we go. Now I'm going to go to front view to finish this rest up because I'm actually going to put them in the right areas. Before I do that, let me show you how to fix that problem we were dealing with a second ago. If you go to properties of them all, there's a positions and layer. If you bump it all the way up to 10, now you'll see when I move this sticker over this material. Try to bump this one to -10. There we go. Bumped one of them all the way up, one of them all the way back. So this all the way to the back and the white stickers to the front. I can actually move it over and I'm just fine. So circle, kind of moving it where they are on the actual controller. Even though the square would go here and the X would go here, we don't have those. So I'm going to do an L1 here and an R1 right here. Let's go ahead and glue all that. Now we're actually going to have this only show the ones we care about. So for example, this object only uses circle. We can program it to only show circle. If it requires triangle and circle, we'll do them both here. Now really, that doesn't really tell the user what's going to happen. What happens when I hit triangle? What happens when I hit circle? So let's go ahead and add a few more stickers. Go back to front view. Bring up our sticker panel. Let's go ahead and start really, really large because our sticker may start large. Go ahead and draw it out here. With a sticker cutter, we don't have to worry about how big this thing is. It'll be small enough later on. So let's find our stickers and we're going to go down to our text. Now my gotcha with text, we want it readable. This font right here looks okay except for the R's backwards, the X is weird, the N is even weirder. I guess it's supposed to be an M. Don't like that font. Then you go up here, you only have certain characters that are white here. The rest are these other little weird characters. For example, G-H-I-J-K. I guess the white, you do have them all. They're just mixed in here. So the white ones would be actually pretty decent. Let's go ahead and use those. For the first one, let's go ahead and just type in the word use. U S E. Use our sticker panel again. I'm only going to create a couple for this demo here. Let's do one more. Let's go ahead and start with some sticker panel. And this one we will call, this one take. So you can add it to your inventory or something. You want to put the grid on to do this, make it easier. That's another good trick to use. I'm just going to freehand it right here. Now you will notice they're not glued together, so if you want to take a piece of holographic material and just do something like this and then glue it. Set the holographic material to 0 and the same thing with this one here. Now if you try to do this with the sticker material, it would probably actually ruin your sticker. So that's the reason I'm grabbing a different material that doesn't have any physics. Alright, let's go ahead and bring those down closer to my object. And then we'll kind of resize, make sure it looks okay. Make it a little smaller. And the same problem we had with the other one is our layering. We want to bring this kind of closer to the front. So we'll select it and choose position and layer and bring that all the way up. Now we can move each one individually around. We'll make this a take. And we'll make this a use. Now this one already had holographic material. I can go ahead and glue that. front view, so it's hard to tell which layer I'm on. Yeah, I'm back there, so let's try that again. This one didn't have anything touching, so I can either make it touch, or I can, yet again, use another piece of holographic material. And we'll make sure everything is grabbable. Alright, looking good so far. Now let's go ahead and make some tags that we know what icons to show when. For example, this tag, let's go ahead and give it a color. I'll give it, say, yellow. And we'll give it a label called target. And this will be the triangle. You can either use T for triangle, or you can try to find an icon that may represent a triangle. This looks like a triangle to me without the little bottom part, so let's use that. Go ahead and select it. Go back to our circuit board on our target. Let's add yet another piece of microchip. Should have been renaming these so I know what's what. We're going to use a tag sensor, not a remote tag sensor this time, because we do care about the radius this time. You'll see right here, maximum detection range. I can actually program it to our circle. I like to go a little bit bigger than the circle, like one step beyond. There we go. That's probably good. Let's go ahead and do our layer range all the way to 16, because I want to detect any object there. Remember our layer trick earlier? That should help this out a little bit more, being closer to the target object, but still it's good to go ahead and put it to 16. And then the next thing we'll do is program those stickers up to whatever corresponds to that tag. So this is the triangle. Go ahead and do this one here. Get this board out of the way so I can see the word take. And I'll program that up to all those letters. Now if you did one piece of sticker that was kind of rectangle with the word take on it, that would work fine. You only have to plug in one letter there, but alright, let's go ahead and select all that again and make sure when this is off that our opacity is set to 0. Now, I accidentally selected the holographic material, so I didn't have that option. So I've got to do each letter individually. Another reason for only doing one piece. Should only take a couple seconds though. Alright, let's give that a test real quick before we move on to the other one. Go to preview mode. Now I haven't programmed the U's yet, and I haven't turned the opacity off for the triangle. So let's go ahead and tweak those up a little bit first. And the other thing I haven't really done is told it what tag to look for. So let's go ahead and do our tag sensor, and we'll do yellow with the target triangle. Alright, let's try that again. Go to preview mode. And you notice as soon as I move my cursor over this target box, I get the triangle take. Move it away, it goes away. Voila. So I would do the exact same thing for the other target. Let's go ahead and make this one way over here our other target. So we'll put a tag. Let's color code it to say yellow. Give it a label. This one we're going to call target, and this is our circle. So I can use to say just a big O. Select that. Back over here, we can choose the target 0, and we can wire that up to our material. Just like before, make sure the opacity set to 0 when off. one other thing. So now I'll move it over here. I only get the take. We haven't programmed the L1 and R1, so they're going to show until we do something with them. We move over here. And my target area did not work for some reason. I see why. I actually moved it up a little bit, so we move it down, so make sure we hit it. You walk through it again. There we go. Go back to preview mode, and we have a nice use right there. Now, I would make this target a little smaller because you notice I'm going into the ground pretty easy, or I would just make sure not to have any objects that are really low to the ground. So this would be sitting up here on something, all based on your level design. Use, walk over here. We've not only changed layers, but we have the take. So there we go. We're getting near the completion here. The last thing really to do is program these buttons to actually do something whenever we're over this object. Alright, this last section, we're going to finish this cursor up by making actions actually happen. So, for example, when I click take here, we might make this box disappear and then show up in an inventory or something like that. I will say, though, if you want to use the sack pocket as your inventory, then having the circle program might not be a good idea, because that's how you bring up that sack pocket. So in the early example, we actually programmed the circle to the use button, for example, opening doors, light switches, things like that might actually be good. So you might use the L2, the R2, something like that instead if you wanted to use the sack pocket. There again, depends on your level. Pre-think a few things. If you need to change the graphic up later on because you do want to use the sack pocket, that's how you can also do that. Alright, so let's go ahead and get to working there. Now you also notice the L1 and R1 stays on at all times. We just didn't program those in our demo, so I'm going to go ahead and just erase those for right now. In your level, you can have as many controls as you want on that. So we'll just program this box here to use take, and we'll just pretend it went to your sack pocket, and we'll just make it disappear. So here's how we're going to do that. I'm going to go ahead and, you guessed it, I'm going to do another microchip. This time I'm actually going to do the microchip, though, in the controlinator, because these are dealing with actual buttons we're pressing right here in our controlinator, so it's probably best to keep the logic as close as you can to its source. So we're going to be dealing with the take button, which is the triangle. So we'll go ahead and be programming with this. So I want to activate a tag whenever the user presses the triangle, but this has to be active, or this has to be active, more or less. So earlier we coded this logic right here, target triangle. So this is true and this is true, then we can make an action happen. So let's go ahead and do an AND. So whenever they're near a triangle target and the user presses the triangle, this becomes true. So all we want to do here now is a tag. Go ahead and wire that up. And we'll give it a label of, say, action and triangle. So again, this is only going to happen for about a millisecond, but enough to trigger something. So when the user is near a triangle target and they press triangle, this tag will activate. Alright, so next we'll go to the object itself. Let's go ahead and create a circuit board. And then we will do a tag sensor. Now you don't want to do a remote tag sensors, because let's say 10 places in your zone you have these triangle tags. You'll be activating all of them if you started using tag sensors here. So we want to be sort of in the radius of this tag when it goes off. As far as the radius goes, you know the target's going to be pretty small, so about the size of your target. You can go a little bit bigger as long as you don't have 2 or 3 triangle objects next to each other. You can go fairly large to make sure you capture it. I'm going to go ahead and do all 16 layers just for extra measure. And I think we made that a green tag. Let me just verify really quick. Yeah, we just kept it green. That's just fine. And we need to get a label of action triangle. In this case, we want the box to disappear, so I'm going to use a destroyer. Let's go ahead and wire that up. And let's give it a cool effect, say shrink. Shrink kind of represents that you took it, you put it in your pocket. Alright, let's give this a try. When in preview mode, we'll move our cursor next to that and hit the triangle, and voila, our object is now gone. Show you that one more time. Let's just show you the whole thing one more time. I'm moving, my target is staying near me. You can see right here. It changed layers because we have an invisible layer wall right here to change layers. Use. I haven't programmed that button up yet, but we know how. I did notice a little bug here. Notice when I move, my use stays put. The earlier we put some logic in when our SAC person is moving to not show that. For example, it wasn't that one. See, I forgot to label my microchips. This right here, when not, we want to be able to show that. We need to go back and add a little bit more logic to our, that's not it, to this right here. We want to do an AND instead. So when this tag is found and not the person is moving, then we'll wire that up to our stickers. Same thing for this one here. See, it's good to make mistakes in videos. You learn with me. You learn from your mistakes. Mistakes are not bad sometimes. Alright, let's try that again. Now when I move, all the stickers go off. That's what I'm looking for. Here I've changed layers. My target is near me. Move that here, hit the take button, and voila. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. There should be many more to come. If you have any suggestions, please leave them in the comments, and I will try my best to get to them.